With Clone Wars Season 7 Episode 12 releasing as the final ever episode of the Clone Wars, many of us still have one big question remaining. How did Ahsoka get her white lightsabers in Star Wars Rebels? The last time we see Ahsoka with her old lightsabers is in the Clone Wars Season 7 Episode 12 finale, where she drops her lightsabers onto the ground to fake her own death, where Darth Vader will eventually collect them. So when does Ahsoka get her new white lightsabers? I'm going to break down the complete story of exactly how Ahsoka got her white lightsabers, and their shocking connection to her former master, Darth Vader. So before we dive into it, remember to subscribe to the channel to be notified as soon as I release more incredible Star Wars content. At the moment, a shockingly small 2.7% of you who are watching this video are subscribed to the channel. So if you enjoy the content, let's try to get that number just a bit higher. After being framed for treason and an attack on the Jedi Temple by former friend Barriss Offee, Ahsoka completely lost her faith in the Jedi Order, choosing to leave them behind along with her two green lightsabers. Despite being cleared of all wrongdoing by the Jedi Council and the Republic military, Ahsoka decided to remain away from the Jedi Order and her lightsabers. Eventually, however, Ahsoka received her lightsabers back after taking on an advisory position at the Siege of Mandalore, helping to capture the former Sith Lord, Darth Maul. In one of the most emotional moments in the Clone Wars Season 7, her former master, Anakin Skywalker, hands Ahsoka two lightsabers back, but this time their colour has changed from green to blue. I have a video on how Anakin may have changed the colour of the Kyber crystals from green to blue linked in the pinned comment down below, so be sure to check that out. Ahsoka is then forced to give up her lightsabers once again, as Maul destroys the hyperdrives of her Republic cruiser as they are transporting him back to the Jedi Council on Coruscant. Maul's destruction of the hyperdrives causes the cruiser to violently crash into an icy moon, killing every clone trooper on board, with only Rex and Ahsoka escaping on a Y-wing bomber. Because Order 66 was called only moments before the ship began to fall towards the moon, Ahsoka is now deemed a traitor to the Republic under a direct order from Lord Sidious, as well as Rex, because he failed to carry out Order 66 on Ahsoka. This forces Rex and Ahsoka to fake their own deaths at the site of the cruiser crash, with Ahsoka dropping her two lightsabers to the ground as a final step in detaching herself from the Jedi Order. A huge connection to Anakin here is that as Ahsoka's master, he always told her that her weapon was her life. Ahsoka dropping her weapons to the ground symbolizes that her former life is now over, and that she is starting fresh from a new beginning. After this, Ahsoka then spent the next year hiding on the planet Tabeska, working as a mechanic for a group known as the VADER clan. Following her short stay there, Ahsoka was forced to flee the planet on the first ever Empire Day after the Imperial Navy arrived on the planet, seeking to occupy it. Upon her departure, she takes up the alias Ashla to conceal her identity. Ashla is also the ancient name for the light side of the Force, also used by Bendu and the Lasat people. After that, she then ended up on the remote farming moon known as Rada. While on the moon, she became friendly with the locals and began to collect various mechanical parts that would later be used in the construction of her new white lightsabers. Soon after, however, the Empire also arrived on Rada, leading Ahsoka to form a small resistance group with the locals. Although she led the group for a short amount of time, she was quickly forced to escape the planet after she was discovered to be a Force user while rescuing one of the locals, very similarly to Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order. After fleeing Rada, she returned to the planet from earlier, Tabeska, where she was contacted by Senator Bail Organa, who had noticed her pattern of good deeds in that area of the galaxy. Organa suspected that a Jedi or former Jedi was behind these good deeds and sought to recruit her for the newly formed Rebel Alliance. Now this is where the story gets interesting. Shortly after joining Bail Organa's rebels, one of Darth Vader's Inquisitors, the Sixth Brother, was notified of Ahsoka's presence and began to track her down. While on the hunt for Ahsoka, he eventually came across one of Ahsoka's friends from the farming moon where she once resided, Rada. The Sixth Brother took Ahsoka's friend, Kaden, hostage, hoping to lure her back to the farming moon. Ahsoka was not going to let her friend be killed by the Sixth Brother, so she set out to build herself two new lightsabers in hopes of rescuing her friend. Ahsoka then travelled to the sacred Jedi Planner of Ilum, where the Jedi had harvested their Kyber crystals for thousands of years. Once she arrived at Ilum, however, she found that the Empire had begun strip mining the planet for the eventual superweapon that became Starkiller Base. This forced Ahsoka to hide in the outer reaches of the Ilum system and meditate into the Force so that she could look for new crystals. While meditating, she could hear the hum of a Kyber crystal coming from the moon Rada, where her friend was currently being held hostage. As Ahsoka followed the hum of the crystal, she eventually discovered that the crystal singing to her was the one inside of the Sixth Brother's lightsaber. Despite not carrying a weapon, Ahsoka defeated the Sixth Brother and even accidentally killed him with his own double-bladed lightsaber after it exploded. At this point, Ahsoka removed the Kyber crystals from the Inquisitor's blades, and the crystal's hum in the Force was louder than ever. The Inquisitor's Kyber crystal held a deep blood-red color because he used the Force to make the crystal bleed. Ahsoka felt the cry of the Kyber crystal as it bled a deep red, causing her to cleanse the crystal through the Force. This turned it into the bright white color that we're familiar with. Ahsoka then combined her new white Kyber crystals with the scrap and junk parts that she collected from her time on Rada to create her two iconic white lightsaber blades. She initially wasn't happy with how rough the hilts of the sabers were, but had no time at all to make them more functional. She rushed to rescue her captured friend and free the citizens of Rada from Imperial occupation. Following her evacuation of the planet, she met with Senator Bail Organa on board the Tantive 3, Bail Organa's ship from Revenge of the Sith and the predecessor to the Tantive 4. The two discussed Ahsoka's contribution to the Rebel Alliance, where she eventually agreed to take up the position of Fulcrum, which made her a secret agent for the Rebels. This is exactly how Ahsoka acquired her white lightsaber for Star Wars Rebels and after Clone Wars Season 7 Episode 12, Victory and Death. So let me know if you think Ahsoka will have her white lightsabers in her appearance for The Mandalorian Season 2 down in the comments below. Remember to subscribe to the channel to be notified as soon as I release more awesome Star Wars lore videos. Thanks so much for watching. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.